Maria had always dreamed of living in the big city. She had grown up in a small town where everyone knew each other's names, and she craved the excitement of anonymity. So when she got a job offer in New York, she jumped at the chance. She arrived in the city with nothing but her suitcase and a determination to make a new life for herself. She found a tiny apartment in the heart of the city, and started her new job as a copywriter at a major advertising agency. She loved the buzz of the city, the constant noise and movement, and the feeling of being a part of something bigger than herself. One day, on her way home from work, she saw a man being attacked in an alley. She froze for a moment, unsure of what to do, but then she saw the glint of a knife and knew she had to act fast. She ran towards the attacker and tackled him to the ground, yelling for help. The man turned out to be a detective named Jack, and he was investigating a string of murders that had been happening in the city. Maria couldn't stop thinking about him after that night, and they started dating soon after. Jack was everything she had ever wanted in a partner: smart, kind, and brave, and she felt like she had finally found her place in the world. But as their relationship deepened, Jack started to confide in her about the case he was working on. The murderer had been targeting young women who lived alone, and all the evidence pointed to someone who knew the city well. Jack was convinced that the killer was someone who had been hiding in plain sight all along, and he was determined to find out who it was. Maria was torn between her love for Jack and her fear of the killer. She started to see shadows in every corner, and she was constantly checking over her shoulder. But Jack promised her that he would keep her safe, and she believed him. One night, Maria came home to find her apartment ransacked. She called Jack in a panic, and he rushed over to help her. They searched the apartment, but nothing was missing. It seemed like the intruder had been looking for something specific. Jack decided that Maria couldn't stay in the apartment any longer, and he offered to let her stay with him. Maria felt relieved to be with him, but she couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. As the investigation continued, Jack grew more and more obsessed with finding the killer. He worked long hours, barely sleeping or eating, and Maria started to worry that he was putting himself in danger. She begged him to let the police handle it, but he refused. One night, Maria woke up to find that Jack was gone. She searched the apartment, but he was nowhere to be found. She called his phone, but it went straight to voicemail. The next morning, Maria received a call from the police. They had found Jack's body in an alley, just a few blocks from her apartment. He had been killed by the same knife that the killer had used in all the other murders. Maria was devastated. She couldn't believe that the man she loved had been taken from her so suddenly. But she knew that she had to keep going, to find the killer and bring them to justice. She started to do her own investigation, piecing together clues from Jack's notes and interviews with witnesses. She was determined to find the killer, no matter what it took. Finally, after months of searching, Maria found the killer. It turned out to be someone that she had met before, a quiet, unassuming man who worked in her office building. She had never suspected him before, but now it all made sense. He had been watching her, waiting for his chance to strike. Maria alerted the police and they were able to apprehend the killer. He confessed to all the murders and was sentenced to life in prison. But for Maria, the justice was bittersweet. She had lost Jack, the love of her life, and nothing could bring him back. As she tried to move on from the tragedy, Maria found herself drawn to one of Jack's colleagues, a detective named Alex. They had worked together on the case, and she had always respected his intelligence and dedication. Slowly, they started to spend more time together, sharing stories about Jack and their experiences on the case. As they grew closer, Maria started to feel like she could love again. Alex was different from Jack in many ways, more easygoing, less intense, But he had his own strengths. He made her laugh, and he listened to her when she needed to talk about her grief. One night, as they were walking through the city, Alex took Maria's hand and said, "I know it's soon, but I have to tell you how I feel. I love you, Maria." Maria felt her heart flutter. She had been so afraid to love again, but now she realized that she couldn't resist the pull of Alex's kindness and warmth. She looked into his eyes and said, "I love you too, Alex." As they kissed under the bright lights of the city, Maria felt a sense of hope for the first time since Jack's death. She knew that nothing could ever replace him, but she was grateful for the chance to love again. Together, she and Alex would face whatever the city threw their way, the good, the bad, and the deadly. Thanks for watching.